How's it going, everybody? We got another update from our favorite small town of corruption. Uh, Behind me, you will see the local Lafayette house. It was built in 1760 or 1765, and it's been standing here in Tiverton ever since. Um, Over the holiday season, uh, locals would drive by and notice a demolition site. How did this happen? Who let it happen? Why did it happen? Right? All going through everybody's heads, speculations on Facebook. I've been making my YouTube videos for exactly this reason, right? I'm a family member to one of the town council members who I am estranged from my family due to my recovery, right? And because of them not accepting my recovery and stuff like this, and I have now come forward and I am giving out the information that I have. And I have been seeing this coming. I didn't know the exact players or who it was going to be or where it was going to be, but I've been telling you guys that Tiverton is going to be overdeveloped and exploited, right? As soon as certain people get into power. And we're going to talk about that. So the story goes that the house was standing there and there was an application for demolition, and Dave Rose, the current owner, had marked no when the application asked if it was a historical site. That application then went through our inspector's office and um, town council, I mean, and it was apparently missed by everybody. And on, I think it was December 18th, 9 o'clock in the morning, construction crews rolled in, executed the demolition, and they were out by noon, like military status. So I've been saying that as certain people rise to power, right, our town of Tiverton is starting to look and feel more and more like that movie Walking Tall, right? What was that movie all about? A casino and drugs, right? Is Tiverton not suffering those two things with the opioid epidemic? And now we get the casino there. They keep on promising, we're going to lower your taxes for this, we're going to lower your taxes for that. But the problems that these entities bring lower our property values much more than the taxes that we're going to potentially save, right? So you'll find on a couple different documents that the house was registered historically. Um, you'll see it again here. Um, and meanwhile, we're seeing these articles coming up. And then we see craziest of them all, right? And this is like here it is. Like I don't know how much more I got to do to prove the corruption of what's going on in Tiverton. That the town worker amended the demolition permit, right? And changed it from no to yes, yes to no, and back and forth. You crazy, dude? Like, you're lying on historical documents. This should be a federal offense of some kind. Somebody deserves to go to prison. I'm not even kidding. If someone deserves to go to prison for shoplifting from a local store, then someone deserves to go to prison for this. You see what I mean? Just saying. Just saying. So the permit article that was released read the permit Kingston resident Dave Rose, who owns 35.6 acres on which the home formerly sat, and another 46 acres of land elsewhere in Tiverton, applied for a demolition permit in August, writing no when prompted to state whether the 1760 home was listed on the National Register of Historic Places, the Rhode Island Historical Preservation Register, or the local Tiverton Register of Historic Places. Though not listed on the National Register, the house is on a list of historic Tiverton structures and architectural resources of Tiverton RI, published by the Rhode Island Historical Preservation Committee in 1983. One, one question Jones wants to answer is how the home's historic nature was missed as the demo permit was reviewed, and what, if any, penalties exist when the application contains false information. Now, I like the way that you're starting to think, Pat, right? That penalties are definitely owed, right? But the investigation shouldn't end with just the owner, because that application had to pass a few people, and it sat for a little while. Documents say that it took him like 2 months to get it approved, right? So it doesn't end with just him. And now we can prove and we know for a fact that we have town workers changing the documents. Yes to no, yes to no. You are right. Penalties. We have to figure out what penalties exist, Pat. You are right. Me and you together, right? I'm here to help you, right? But the fact of the matter, Pat, is I'm a little nervous, right? So here's our police chief, Pat Jones, right? And I've known Pat Jones for a long time. He's been a friend of my mom's for a very long time, right? And it's no reason why my brother-in-law, once he met my sister and met my mom and met her friends, and there's no reason why my brother-in-law, Dave Paul, would want to be a part of, if not the head leader of building a dog park here in Tiverton named after our chief's dad, right? So there's no, it's really easy to see why that would be of interest, as well as knowing that at the time, Pat Jones was a rising star in Tiverton as he became chief, a man of power, and stuff like this. Now, we would call this what? Like, brown nosing, right? You kiss the ass of the ones in power, right? Did Dave Paul, did he know Pat Jones's dad personally? Probably not. He might have met him in passing because Dave was like a dispatcher in Barrington before and he worked for the fire department. And he might have met the man in passing, right? But completely different counties, completely different towns, right? And do I think that he knew Pat Jones's dad enough to make a dog park after him? No. I mean, if that's the case, you got a brother-in-law that's in recovery, part of the 2%. Why not make a dog park and name it after me and let all the recovering addicts and whatnot bring their dogs to the dog park then, right? Talk about local heroes. Just saying, right? But I don't think you knew the man, and that's what I'm getting at there. I think that you just did it to kiss Pat Jones's ass. And why? So that Pat Jones would stop the investigations with the property owner and not look at you, right? You're catering to that whole ego trip that we all know that cops have. And it doesn't even cost you $1 to pay your bribe to the power, right? Sad, man. So the article comes out that Pat Jones is the one in power. He's the one now in charge, overseeing all of this, because Hoyle, our town inspector, approved the demolition and then took off on vacation, right? Took off on leave. And I'm willing to bet it was PTO. It was a paid leave of some kind, right? I'm willing to bet the tax money paid him to screw us right up the booty hole, right? I'm willing to bet. Hoyle on leave. That role would have fallen to the builder inspector and code enforcement officer John Hoyle, who has served in the role since 2021 and was serving in his role when the demo application was first received and when he signed it in late October. But Hoyle was unavailable to comment on the issue this week. He has been on leave since the first week of December, the same week Jones took over as interim town administrator. When asked about the nature of the leave, Jones said he could not comment further, citing personal confidentiality restraints. But he said that in Hoyle's place, the town has hired a part-time zoning official and is working with the state's Office of Code Enforcement to help keep up with the department's heavy workload. It's fucking Tiverton, bro. The department's heavy workload. You got like 2 or 3 patrol officers at any one time. Yeah. Maybe he's talking about the building department's workload. Because, I guess that is a heavy workload right now since they're developing the fuck out of Tiverton. And we probably only got one guy working in the whole department. But hey, right, let's all pretend that it's not happening. Right? And you'll see, if you do a Facebook search on my name, man, you'll see the ridicule people give me for making these videos and coming out with this information. Right? And you can tell who's stoking the fire, who's enabling who, right? Who's turning a blind eye. So after reading that, I start thinking to myself, I'm like, well, who are these motherfuckers, right? Because I don't know Hoyle. Like I know who Pat Jones is, I know who Dave Paul is, and stuff like that. So I look up and well, okay, and start looking up the people in power. Okay, that's Hoyle. That's not a potato. That's my nose. Who remembers that cartoon, right? I mean, that's a throwback right there. That was before I was even born, right? But we're just having fun. We're just having fun. But who's in power, right? So obviously him. Like the biggest finger is at this guy right now, and he even took his leave. Like this man planned that shit. Right? He sold us out. Now there's a lot of money to be had in 6 acres. You know what I mean? So see the reasons why. But Deborah here, she's the liaison to zoning board of review, right? So she would probably be the next up if you're going to be like, okay, who's really responsible? So Hoyle would definitely be first. Deborah is probably number two responsible here. Coming closely up after her would be Denise Medeiros and the Board of Canvassers. And then, oh, also Denise, right? Big crowd fire debate on development proposal in Tiverton. And there she is, right? Looking miserable as ever. You got to look at John Edwards. He's the president, Tiverton Town Council, right? So automatically he's a person of interest or a suspect, right? And his vice president, right? And liaison to economic development, Dave Paul. So as I'm looking through this, I mean, y'all already know why I don't like Dave Paul, right? So I'm looking through it, I'm like, damn, that picture looks like shit, right? And I'm a guy that's like missing a tooth and everything like that, man. And at least I can fucking shave and shit. Come on now. And you know you're gonna be taking a picture enough to be wearing a collar, right? For the internet and possibly the newspaper and town representing town council, right? And then you got to go in there with your 5 o'clock shadow, fucking. But I laugh at that, and I was like, I wonder if he looks like shit in other photos, and if you can see him way down the corner over there, kind of looking off. I mean, whatever meeting that these guys are at right now, nobody's listening to whoever's talking. They are all darted off, dazed off, and confused, daydreaming. I mean, look at them all. But you'll see Dave way down at the corner, wearing his favorite blue shirt. I think we need to, get the man a shirt or something. And raggedy as ever again, right? I'm like, God damn, right? I remember back in the day, they'd be like, don't get tattoos. Places won't give you jobs because you look like shit. You look like shit. How are you getting a job? How are you town council? How are you anything? And then I found this one. Now, this one was the most interesting picture out of all of them to me, and for a very specific reason. Once again, favorite blue shirt. Ratty as fuck. How come I can't? Oh, because it's locked. Look at them eyes. Look at them eyes. Look at that face. What's going on inside that head right now? Now, if you were to look at his eyes right there, in the clarity of his eyes, and then look over at the lady. You can tell, even behind the glasses, that her eyes are way more clear, right? He looks like he's about to cry, or he's hungover, or half in the bag. Like he's bloodshot, glazed up, right? Now, isn't that a similar accusation that I've had with my sister, right? And going to school drunk, and I've posted here, and I've made videos about my sister's drunken antics and all that, right? And right here, the I don't want to say the proof is in the pudding on this one, man, but goddamn, if it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it squats like a duck, it's probably a duck. You know what I mean? But in that, I'm noticing, right? He's assistant or vice president to John. He's hanging out with John all the time, man. And I started thinking to myself, I'm like, well, what's Dave's interest in John, right? I went to school with John. I've always thought John was a good guy, right? He used to do the announcements in the morning, if I remember correctly, at our school. And I found this case here. This was printed by Providence Journal. It says, blogger accuses council VP of ethics violation. But John G. Edwards says the town solicitor told him there was no ethics conflict. So this article is going to go on. Justin Katz, who's a known blogger, accuses John of notifications of ethics violations, in which go on to being said that John Edwards, in asserts, broke the law by voting for the financial benefit of the Newport Chamber of Conference, an entity in which he has clear business associations. This is right up the alley of what I've been accusing Dave of, right? That he's going to make private or personal decisions on behalf of the state or with his power for personal gains. This is what this article was all about. And apparently John was trying to get funding in for the town council members or himself, and Justin Katz discovered it and called him out on it. Man, John, I expected better out of you. You heard? But really, I did. I expected better out of you, dude. Disappoint me. And finally, I'm going to bring up, somebody at the very end it reveals his name. I forget it offhand. We're going to learn it, though. There's a letter to Tiverton that I thought was constructive. All right. So it says the Abraham Brown House, otherwise known as Lafayette House, at 3118 Main Road in Tiverton, has stood the test of time until it's met its unfortunate fate last week, within hours erased from history with the help of an excavator to live out the rest of its eternity in a landfill. Constructed in 1765, wait, wrong year, it weathered every storm, every war, and every change this world could throw at it for 259 years. To put this into perspective, Rhode Island and other 12 colonies were still under British control, and it would stay that way for another 12 years. Built by Abraham Brown, he and his wife Abigail raised 7 children in this home, not to mention countless generations that came after. In early August of 1778, Abraham, a private in the Rhode Island Regiment, housed Francis General Marquis de Lafayette in this very residence. For those unaware of the history, during the battles of Rhode Island, George Washington had sent him to command some 5,000 plus troops and defeat the Redcoats occupying Newport. Interestingly enough, the seller's short-lived Zillow ad did not mention any of this treasured history or even the proper date of its construction. Ironically, the first sentence did have the word iconic, as if to maybe give a hint that it was an issue of ignorance or arrogance. Did the seller not have the facts, or was it intentional? It would be arrogance. If the seller intentionally misled the public as to the history of this property, it was arrogance listing the property at 6.8 million, unattainable to just about everyone but the 1%. The classic I know what I got mentality. Mm. or was it pure greed? At just over 35.5 acres, one could assume that if no one bought the place, they could hurry up and tear it down to squeeze out about 15 or so overpriced, poorly built houses that look all the same on what one could argue was a picture worth 1,000 words. Do the math. That's a significant payday. I guess when it's all I guess when it's all given to you by kin, things are hard to appreciate for more than monetary value. I suppose if I was getting I, I suppose if I was a betting man, I'd say the answer to my original question was all three. At the end of the day, everyone is rightfully entitled to do what they wish with what they own, but I think we can all come together and agree this was the exception. On December 18th, on December 18th, while confusingly still listed for sale, Tiverton lost a valuable piece of history and a valuable asset to our town. If walls could talk, imagine the stories that would be told. Whatever his reason was, shame on the owner and shame on whoever in Tiverton Town Hall allowed this to happen. Unfortunately, people who lack empathy and morals still sleep just fine at night. Surely locals would stand around and cheer if Four Corners still held the town whipping post. All of us who are outraged are not free of blame, unfortunately. We should have known better and advocated sooner. We should have taken action. I kind of want to say maybe y'all should have, right? Because I'm over here doing this alone. Ain't nobody supporting me. I don't get no respect. I very much encourage the residents of our community who give a damn, especially the younger generations, to use this unfortunate event as a wake-up call and get involved so disgusting atrocities like this cannot happen again. We as a community should be upset and angry in a town full of people up in arms about the temporary closure of a cat cafe. Be the person who is concerned about change that cannot be undone. That is right. The change that permanently alters your surroundings. Tiverton has a historic preservation advisory board as well as a land trust. They need your volunteers and support if Tiverton has any hope of retaining any of the character that draws people here in the first place. Take action. You are not powerless. Zachary Goret. You're damn right, Zachary. You are damn right. Right? And that's what I've been trying to say this whole damn time. I've just been able to see it from a first party personal perspective a little bit sooner than y'all. But that's okay. You are right. We need to do something. Pat Jones, you are right. Penalties are owed. We need to figure out who to get what out, clean this shit up. I've been telling you guys for a while, it's been coming. There's an article on Reddit that says that there was somebody over in like Europe or something like that that took down a national monument that was on his private property, and the officials over there forced him to rebuild it at his own expense, right? We should possibly be looking into something like that. There's some speculation that the house had been neglected, that there was some unrepairable damage to the house, right? So, hey, maybe this little blemish, right? People trying to screw the town of Tiverton, maybe Tiverton will get a little win and we'll get now a monument rebuilt, right? Protected the correct way, right? In their name, and we'll have it now for many years to come. That's with any hopes. That's if we can handle this the right way. That's if we can get people like Pat Jones on our side and get him to investigate and penalize the people in power that allowed this to happen, no matter what dog parks they built in his dad's name or whatever. See what I'm saying? And that's why they do this shit, right? It's all part of the plan. It's a big plan. It's a lot to follow. It's a lot to learn. There's a lot of connections, intricate moving parts. It's a big plan, but the plan is happening. It's happening board by board, house by house, property by property. Hey, thank you all for checking up on my video update here. I saw this, I just remember driving by that so many times on my way to Four Corners and driving out that way and right going on our little blunt rides and shit in high school and to hear that it was taken down and that it passed by so many people. Was it an accident or were they paid? Right? Come on. Right? This is a pretty big whoopsie, and then people are going back and trying to cover their ass and change shit yes to no and no to yes, and they were paid. Happy New Year.